I'm Braden. I'm gonna do BookTube. I swore to myself that I would never do BookTube because it seems to be a lot of work. But you know what? I think I might give it a whirl because I'm so bored in quarantine. I've been reading like crazy. My space heater's off because of the sound. I need my folklore hoodie. Shout out to Taylor, all my Swifties, evermore. Oh man, she's just blessed us. This is my first like BookTube video, dipping my toes into BookTube because you guys are crazy. You're insane. Some of you, the amount of books you read, the tabs, all that stuff, it's like gives me anxiety because I'm like, I'm not worthy of being a booktuber. But books are just, oh, I mean, I'm gonna do a little review because we have so many books. I read over 10 books in November. Let's get to it.
Yeah, get into it.
So ma'am, do you want to say hi? Want to say hi to the BookTube people? This is Chi-Chi, is my nickname for him. Versace, he's the cutest. He watches me read and cuddles like constantly. I do have a pattern when it comes to books in general of what I like, but I'm trying to build my collection. Most of these are purchase books / my own. The library is a thing. I've noticed on BookTube that some people love to collect, which is great, but don't feel bad if your collection isn't crazy because it doesn't need to be. I love Read with Cindy and she's so good about, what? Oh no, oh no, you guys.
What do you do if it's... Where's the other side?
This is gonna drive my OCD crazy. There's not the other side of it. Anyway, what was I saying? I'm so new to this. I'm like a little virgin. I'd rather be weird than boring. So we're just gonna start off with a very beloved collection. Rainbow Rowell's Carry On. What's this ASMR? ASMR. And Wayward Sun, which we'll talk. All of these reviews are going to be very brief. If you really want to get to know my opinions, just comment down below and we'll chat. But I really enjoyed the first one, Carry On. I believe I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The thing about this series that I really had to overlook was I came for the love story. You don't see one of the characters until like halfway, or like 150 pages into the book. But we follow our lovely 2 characters, Simon Snow, Baz, and they're friends at a school that is very magical. It is very reminiscent of Hogwarts and Harry Potter. In fact, in my opinion, why it's not a 5 is because I felt like it was a little too reminiscent of that. It almost felt like a bit of a ripoff. Like, maybe that's tea, I don't know. But I just felt like it was so close to Harry Potter in a way that it was like switching certain terminology, but it was very similar in tone and such, but a little more queer. I wanted more kissing between the boys. I wanted more of that. I did not get that. Thought that I would get it with the second one, which we'll get to, but. And Wayward Sun, I absolutely loved the cover. I think it's gorgeous. In fact, this has a beautiful, I mean, even I just love it. I loved it so much, and the animation and the art is just stunning and misleading because this is a no spoiler zone, but I did not like this book. I understand why, but there wasn't enough like love and romance to kind of justify it, I guess. I just felt like there was a setup in the first and I was like, this is gonna be so exciting. They're gonna be like little lovebirds and all this stuff, and it's not the way that things went down. Love the group of friends. I think they're great, but after reading other fantasy books like Six of Crows and the character development, it's just like monumentally such a difference. Next we have Group, which I believe was the November choice for the book club for Reese, who I love. Wreath Witherspoon. Every year I make a wreath and I put little Reese Witherspoons on them. It's really cute. Thank you, Reese, for this recommendation.
I'm just so glad that you liked it, Braden.
This last year has been really a struggle for all of us, I'm sure, and I think mental health has always been a topic for me. I'm bipolar, but like I'm medicated. I'm here to tell you that it gets better with therapy, medication, a really strong support system. I like to say that because it's not like a, oh my God, it's like a normalization of it because everyone struggles with depression to some extent, in my opinion. So Group was wonderful because you follow Christy Tate, and this is based on her real life. She lives in Chicago. She is recovering from an eating disorder. She's trying to get her life together and really find that special someone. And you follow her through 3 separate groups that she goes to, and she realizes how important authenticity and opening up to people really is for her. So I really liked this, and I recommend it as well. I forget what I gave it on Goodreads, but insert. Next up, my best friend, he recommended this for me, and it is 10 arguments for deleting your social media accounts right now. If you saw The Social Dilemma on Netflix, they basically talk about this. It's Jaron Lanier. He is wonderful. It gives you a setup for how to navigate it. A few of their arguments: you're losing your free will. Quitting social media is the most finely targeted way to resist the insanity of our times. Social media is making you into an asshole. Sometimes, like the thirst traps. Sometimes I can't. I've been better about them, but sometimes it's like, I'm feeling down on myself. Here are my abs. It's so stupid. Social media is undermining truth. Social media is making you say what you say meaningless. Social media is destroying your capacity for empathy. Social media is making you unhappy. Social media doesn't want you to have economic dignity. Social media is making politics impossible. Social media hates your soul. So I'm about up into 5, but it's wonderful, and I like to read it on and off. Watch Over Me. I believe I gave this a 4 or 3.5 around there. It's by Nina LaCour. LaCour? This is beautiful. It's all about trauma, which we all have, and shared trauma and ghosts, metaphorically, physically, and all of that. She is basically goes to this NorCal homestead, basically, where she helps teach younger kids, and they've all kind of been in the system, and they've been orphans or whatnot, and she bonds with one and all of the people there. And it's a beautiful look at the past and how it can haunt you, quite literally, and what you need to do to get rid of your trauma. So Watch Over Me, I definitely enjoyed. Very quick read. Then we have Memorial by Brian Washington. It was also the Good Morning America's book club pick. I really loved this. I think I gave it either a 4 or a 5. Brian, this photo, oh, he just looks so sweet. I would totally just sit down with him and talk. I love queer stories, obviously. He writes with such a beautiful authenticity. Follows these 2 men who have been together for some time, Benson and Mike. They live together in Houston. Mike is Japanese American chef, and Benson's a Black daycare teacher. They're kind of walking on eggshells in their relationship, which we all know sometimes that happens, and they're kind of stuck in a rut. Mike's father, he gets news that he's dying, so he goes to Japan to go talk to him. Meanwhile, his mom flies over to Houston and kind of bonds with Benson. So it's 2 different POVs. The first POV is Benson and him bonding with the mom and the lessons he learns about love and family. And then the second half is Mike in Japan with his father, and then it comes back in the end. And I just loved it. I thought that it was one of those slice of life, felt like a Sundance dramedy, interesting characters that we don't necessarily always see. Race, and it was just, I loved it. I really liked it. I think if you're expecting car chases and all of that craziness, you'll probably hate it. It is a little slow paced, but it's a character study, and I give it that. Then we have the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. He looks like someone who would do improv. This book I enjoyed. I did. I think I gave it a 3 or 4. I'm really awful with what I give on Goodreads. I forget. I'll insert it here. I read this like, I think at the very end of October, beginning of November, because Halloween vampires. Loved Desperate Housewives, and I love The Real Housewives. Shout out to Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. You girls are killing it. I love the combination of like that with vampires. You know, it's like True Blood meets an old lady book club. Well, they're not old, but they're older. Yeah, they're just trying to take down this one vampire without doing spoilers or anything. And it's how they kind of use their camaraderie within the book club to do that. There are some trigger warnings in here. There is a bit of the rapey rape. I'm not trying to be funny. I just sometimes get really awkward when I have to say things that are traumatic. There are some intense scenes in this. I just thought overall, I was expecting it to go into more slaying of vampires instead of just the E, because that's kind of what it was. That's not really a spoiler, but I enjoyed it. I think Grady Hendrix does a fun job of putting in comedy into the horror genre. So my best friend's Exorcism, the one prior, I'm kind of interested in reading. So didn't hate it. Not my favorite, but it was enjoyable. Camp by Lc Rosen. I think I gave this a 5 stars. Notice how I say I think. I'm gonna be better about this in the next video, if I do one.
Sure, Jam. Sure, that's fun.
I loved this. 16-year-old Randy Kappelhoff loves spending the summer at Camp Outland. It's a camp for queer teens, and he's always into this sexy Hudson Aronson Lim, who is the boy that he's gone to camp with, and he's never really paid attention to him, so he decides to get jacked and ripped and really like fulfill his butch fantasy and tries to get him. And it's the whole thing of, does it work? Identity, dealing with that. I just loved it. I could really see it as like a series on either like Disney Plus or Netflix. I just think it's a good queer coming of age story that is steamy in parts, because sometimes you don't get the steam factor, and I'm like over here like,
Where's the steam? Where'd it go?
the realization that we all play a part, whether or not we realize it. Even now, I'm playing a part. Moving on with the theme of queer romance, we have Red, White, and Royal Blue. Everyone and their sister was reading this summer, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. I liked it. You know the princess switch? It's kind of like this. It's like, how do I say it? It's like a gay Netflix rom-com that seems so unrealistic in the way that it goes, that it almost seems like fantasy. So once you suspend that, belief, then it's just a fun rom. It follows these two, the son of the President of the United States, Alex Claremont Diaz, ASMR, and Henry, who is the prince or whatever. He's royal, blah, blah, blah. I liked it. It's a rom-com. What am I talking about? I think I'm tearing it down too much. It is like 418 pages, which like Judd Apatow status, you know what I mean? Like Knocked Up, Superbad, all those movies are so good. Do they need to be close to 3 hours? So that's how I felt about this. The Gravity of Us. Ooh, yes. By Phil Stamper. This one was on Goodreads. Oh, also this is by Casey McQuiston. I don't want to, offend the authors. This one I gave, I think, a 2. I was the most disappointed with this one. I'm sorry, Phil. But you basically follow these two boys, Cal Lewis and who's the other one? See, that tells you, Leon. Their parents are both chosen for the NASA program, and so you kind of follow their love. I just felt like this book, and I have a bigger review of this on Goodreads because I was just like a little steamed up about it. I just was bummed because it was the hype. It was, the Goodreads, it was on the list, the rewards for the year and all of that stuff. And can imagine the pitch like in the room. Phil Stamper was like,
I want to do NASA and educate the people, but I want it to be gay and a romance, but then also I want to have this level of depression and mental illness.
And I just felt like there were so many things to like cover that there wasn't simply enough time in the 310 pages that read way quicker to like talk about that. I just feel like, I don't know, maybe this is someone, since like I go to therapy, I take medication, I'm like trying to be on my bullshit when it comes to mental health. I just feel like when authors kind of throw away like that topic, or it's like depression or whatever, just put it on you and then they don't explain it, I just feel like you're robbing the characters of that. You know what I mean? I also must say that I probably felt that way about The Gravity of Us because I was totally just in love and spoiled by Aristotle and Dante discovered the secrets of the universe. As you can see, all of the accolades. I mean, it won the Pulitzer, wait, no. It won the Michael Prince Award, the Stonewall Book Award, the Pure Bellbrae Award, as well as the Lambda Literary Award. And in my opinion, it's so beautiful. Now, this is an example of like delving into characters and making a focus. And it's like poetry. I think that, yeah, this was 5 out of 5 for me. Follows Dante and Aristotle, obviously. They are two Hispanic boys in Texas. And it is about friendship, it is about love, and it is about unconditional love. And I just saw myself in this so much. The relationship that I have with my own best friends, and how it can sometimes be complicated, and how it can grow. And it just made me have all the feels. So I highly recommend this one. It was a rental from the library, but I just read in like a day, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Noelle Gallagher, also a shout out. She was like in love with this book. And I was like, okay, I don't know. But like I've seen it. I've seen the Hollywood thing, the glitz and the glam, but not like this. I feel like the title is very misleading because what you think it's going to cover, it covers, but then it just kind of veers off into a wonderfully queer, not a spoiler.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
But it delves into a subject and a love of hers that I didn't necessarily think was coming. Evelyn is just so well written. Really makes me love Taylor's work so much. I really want to read Daisy and the Sixth, Fifth. Oh my God, what's going on here? But it makes me want to read more of her books because I just was hooked. The flow of that book, and especially I've been reading a lot, and so I can really tell like when the flow of a book is great and when it's like homework. Very reminiscent of like Elizabeth Taylor, as well as, you know, all of the greats, Joan Crawford, all of the women who, you know, use their sexuality to get them further in the industry and making them not just a one-dimensional character, but really talking about reinvention and why people like Lady Gaga and all of these actors and actresses, Marilyn Monroe, really do like reinvent themselves in the past versus the present. And I just love the way that it was set up. Thoroughly recommend it. And last but not least, so talked about all the time, Six of Crows. ASMR. Oh man, you guys. Well, first of all, just to give you, you know, a little mini spoiler, I obviously had to get Crooked Kingdom, so that tells you I loved it. I gave it a 5 stars. It has been a while since I'd read a fantasy novel, because as you can see, like, minus Carry On and those, but like an in-depth, like full world, I guess Carry On is. I really am not trying to like diss Rainbow Rowell, but I just think that Leigh Bardugo, she does such a good job of creating such a complex world. And I didn't read the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I've heard in general that this is much better, but I'm a little curious. I'm excited for the Netflix show, which is, I guess, a blend of both. I'm also nervous because Kaz Brekker is one of the hottest characters I've ever read. I mean, these characters in general, like, I stand them all. The Grishaverse, so there is magic involved, but Ketterdam, a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be had for the right price. And no one knows that better than criminal prodigy Kaz Brekker. Kaz is offered a chance at a deadly heist that can make him rich beyond his wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. A convict with a thirst for revenge, a sharpshooter who can't walk away from a wager, a runaway with a privileged past, a spy known as the Wraith, a heart Render using her magic to survive the slums, a thief with a gift for unlikely escapes. Kaz's crew are the only ones who might stand between the world and destruction if they don't kill each other first. #1 New York Times bestseller for a reason. I just think this totally talked about trauma, and it just did such a good job of like really rounding out these characters. I can see them. They were all so like, you know, everyone loves like a Guardians of the Galaxy type crew, you know, where it's like, oh, they're so, you know, edgy and they're not perfect, but they're a ragtag team. And this is like that, but set in the world of Ketterdam, which is on, you know, harbors, and I'm not explaining this very well at all. It's obviously set up for the second one, which is Crooked Kingdom. You know, a little Hunger Gamesy in the fact that like they're kind of trying to take down the system, but then it's a heist, so it's like Ocean's 11-y, you know what I mean? But in this cool world that they've created and the ice and all this stuff. I mean, I just really can't wait to see this on screen because it's the world she builds is phenomenal. So, Spellbound by Leigh Bardugo. Although I've heard some things about the Ninth House. We won't talk about that though. So there you have it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Is that all I read? I feel like there's another one, but I forgot about it. So not too shabby. Now I'm gonna conclude by saying what I'm currently reading. Let's talk about the hyping of books on BookTube. There are certain things where I feel like if it's not on your shelf, if it's not being talked about, like you're not included in on the conversation. So I love BookTube for that reason, and I love Goodreads for that reason, because you really can like pick and choose. I really don't, if something has less than a 4 or a 3, I really don't try to read it. Life is really short, and there's only so much time that you can spend reading shitty books. I chose, it's a library copy, ASMR, but it's The Puppy War by Rf Quang. I'm highly invested in this. When I'm not editing this video today, I will be reading it. It's an Asian-inspired fantasy series, I must say, after 6 of Crows. I wanted a little break before I went to Crooked Kingdom, but I wanted to delve into the world of fantasy again. And this is just so wonderful. Rin, the character of Rin, she's just a badass. She's a girl who was not supposed to get into a specialty martial arts school, but she does, and she passes a test, and people are like,
wait a minute, did you cheat?
and she's like,
No, I didn't.
and they're like,
I'm pretty sure you cheated.
and she's like,
Oh my god, no, I didn't.
and yeah, that's basically it.
What are you even saying?
People can't stop talking or shut up about this book, so I figured I need to see what's up. After reading as much even as I have, I already put the second and third one on loan/holds request at the library because I can tell I'm really gonna eat this up. Pacing's fantastic. Rf Quang, let's look at her photo. Oh, look at her. She means business. She studies modern Chinese history, which is very apparent in this book. I love that too. I love fantasy books where you kind of get to learn about the culture and the history. She's a BA from Georgetown University, currently a graduate student in the United Kingdom on a Marshall scholarship. So yes, that was a few years ago though. So now she's probably graduated, or she is graduating. I don't know, but I'm a fan. There are lots of trigger warnings involved. I've heard it's gonna get even more violent, which it already kind of has. But I am so excited to delve into it this weekend and let it be my world that I'm in. I live directly under the flight path of the Burbank Airport, so. Wow, that's a lot to say so soon, but I love readers. I do. I love this community. I love BookTube. I know that there seems to be some drama parts of it, which made me a little nervous to kind of insert myself into, but if no one sees this, that's fine. I'm doing this for me.
Sure, Jam.
I think we need to remember that at the end of the day, we just really love literature and we really love stories. I'm so thankful if you've made it this far. Go ahead, click subscribe, follow me on Goodreads, goodreads.com/Braden. On Instagram, I'm the Braden Davis, and on Twitter, I'm the Braden. Stay tuned. I'm gonna go make out with this book now, but I'm gonna sanitize it.